Welcome to Woodwork Therapy. In this video, we're going to be going over the Craftersmark DIY Floating Shelf Kit that comes with everything you need in the box except for the wood. So, on that note, we're going to go ahead and get to that. But before we do proceed, if you do like the video, don't forget to hit the like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification icon for all of our newest videos. In the meantime, let's get to the review. Okay, so what's in the box? Let's go over it. I went ahead and unpacked. This is actually packed really well just for notation purposes. But we've got, we have our router template. So that's basically so we can make our bracket go into the wood as such. Then we have our little router guy for our router bit. Looks like a pretty nice little kind of a bowl router bit, so definitely dig that. Let's see here, we've got all the mollies in the world that you could ever possibly need, so that's always a good thing to have. We have our little screws for the router template, so that's always good. We have this here, which we're going to go into a little bit later, and I believe that is all we got. So that should get us started pretty well there. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. There's one more piece. All right. Wondering about this. Ooh, nice. So you got a really handsome auger bit in here. That is going to do very well on going and cutting through that. So that's going to be great because we're doing walnut shelves, and honestly, auger bit's kind of the way to go. So yeah, this is going to be fun. Okay, so what they say on here is that we want to make sure we got ourselves a drill. Definitely got that. Measuring tape, no doubt, always. Level, definitely going to need that for installation. Pencil, basically for the same basic reasons. Stud finder, and of course you definitely need a router. Oh, and then don't forget a cross screwdriver. Not sure what a cross screwdriver is, but I'm assuming they just mean just a regular screwdriver, so should be good to go. Okay, a little note here about the instructions. You'll notice right off the bat in the instructions it tells you to mark the center point of your shelf. In all reality, if you're making your own shelf like we're going to be doing, then basically you just need to make sure that your dimensions are correct. So you're basically going to leave some overhang here and some overhang here, and that's basically how that works. And then this is where we'll actually put in that one little rod part that we're like, hey, what's that for? Well, that's what that's for. It's to make it so your auger has a good, smooth reference point to go into. And that's basically how that works. So, all right, I just wanted to throw that in there real quick because obviously this is going to vary if you have a pre-made shelf in comparison to having a blank slate, kind of like what we're starting with. So just wanted to throw that in there, and I think that's an important point to note on this. All right, so now we're down to the point where we're going to go ahead and route the board. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how to make sure that that's accurate as possible. And then we're going to go over a couple of extras that aren't necessarily in the instructions, but might be a good idea if you're going to be doing a longer shelf like we're doing. So let's get to it. All right, so we have our template out here. And one of the first things that I notice about any template like this is that they're always going to be a little flexible. So you can see how this kind of goes. See that right there? Oh, we don't want that. So given that does take a fair amount of pressure, but when you have a router going on, the router might go past that. So what we really want to do is add a little bit of double-sided sticky tape to it, because we don't want to put screws in here, because again, we don't have like a lot of room here on the sides because of the thickness of the piece of wood that I picked. So if you're doing something really thin like I'm doing here, and thin being like 2 inches thick, then you probably want to go put a little bit of double-sided tape on there just to go and give it a little bit of extra security so we don't have to worry about it. If you're working with something that's a little bit larger, then you might be able to go and put like an extra screw in here. Again, this is not something that you have to do. I mean, it'll route just fine this way if you're really careful, but why take the chance? So we'll go and throw a couple of those on there real quick and get moving forward into the rest. And if you are doing the double-sided sticky tape concept, make sure when you're putting it on, don't put it over one of these little notches here. You're going to be using those later actually, we're using those actually pretty quickly, actually. So make sure you're not putting anything there. You put it over here, though, and that's fine. And there you go. All right, so when we go to put this on, we want to go and come right in here, right up to our line. So I'm assuming that if you're doing this part, you've already pre-measured how far your ends are from the side of your template. And then we just want to put it on there right like that. And that's nice and easy. And this is actually where the double-sided sticky tape actually also helps, because since we have that there, we can use it to kind of press down and hold the template in place while we're getting ourselves situated. All right, so next thing we need to do is put some screws in. So we're going to put screws in on both sides. So let's go ahead and do a pilot hole for that. Always, always, always do a pilot hole. I cannot stress that enough. You're putting a screw into wood. All right, here we go. Just make sure that these are below the surface. I can tell you if they're not, your router will kind of ramp up and you don't want that. So make sure that they are below the surface. Very important. All right, so I'm just going to do the same thing on all four sides, and then we'll get to the next part. So, all right, next part. So you're going to want to go and install this onto here before you do the routing. I cannot stress that enough. All right, so basically what this is kind of a jig that they include, so this way your drill bit can stay steady while it's going down. So think of it kind of like a doweling jig, if you may. So I already went ahead and pre-drilled a couple of holes here, so that way we have some really, really good stability in it. We don't want to rely completely on the template for this. So I went ahead and did that, and then we'll just go ahead and run a few screws through here real fast. Doesn't matter if they're at an angle or anything, because two reasons. Number one, we just need to hold it down. And number two is this whole section is going to get routed out anyway, so who cares? And they don't even have to be flat, so extra bonus. There we go. So that's on there nice and steady. The template gave us the positioning. The screws are holding it down. This thing's not going anywhere. We're going into solid walnut. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. So we got our auger bit attached to our DeWalt XR little guy here. This thing is actually really, really strong. So, and when I put a little bit of tape up here to give me a general reference point of where I want to stop, because I don't want to go all the way through the board, because, yeah, this probably wouldn't in all reality, but still, I don't know if you can see that on this side, but, you know, this is about roughly the top here, so could go all the way down if I wanted to, not gonna, because, well, you don't need to. So let's get this done. Just keep in mind that when you do run the auger bit through here, this thing's gonna pull like a truck. So your stuff's gonna kind of wiggle a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and get to this. All right, here we go. Okay, as you saw there, you notice I did like several different passes. So I went down a little bit, pulled up, went down a little bit, pulled up. And the reason for that is we want to make sure we're getting a lot of the chips out of the actual hole, because two reasons. Number one is way more cleanup later on. Number two reason is that honestly can bind your auger bit. So make sure you are doing that. That's a great tip. And that'll also reduce some of the kind of kick that you get from the drill while you're drilling. So just something to kind of help you out. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these, and then we'll move on to routing. Yeah. All right, so now we've got all the holes drilled, so we're good to go on that part. So next up is going to be routing out the board. So let's get to it. Okay, time for the big reveal. Let's see how it looks. There we go, not bad. Now, I did manage, the router hopped at one point, so I wound up getting a little extra cut out of this, so that's why you see that there. That's not a fault of the manufacturer. That is just straight up. Sometimes when you're working on wood stuff, weird things happen. That would be one of them. All right, so anyway, that being said, we're all good to go in here. We got a nice base to work with. So what we'll do is we'll take this little guy here, and we're basically just going to put it in here. Just make sure everything fits in, which it does. So we're good to go. I have some little bread ties on here in case I need to pull it out. That's why it doesn't sit completely flush. So, but anyway, yeah, so that works really good. The bread ties are actually for when you're testing it this way, by the way. So if you decide to do a test like this, then you'll want to have the bread ties there, because that'll keep you from falling all the way in, which is good. A little snug on the corners, but that is actually a good thing because that means it's going to hold in place really well. So we've got a nice bracket fit. So now pretty much all we have to do is finish them and install them. All right, cool. It's installation time. Always a fun time. All right, so I've done a couple of things here that just to make my life easier. You don't have to do this, but this is something that's kind of fun. Again, you guys know how I love double-sided sticky tape. Why not? Since I have a really crooked wall, I'm going to go ahead and put these on, and then I'm going to be putting a spacer over here once we get a chance to go ahead and get this leveled on the wall and everything. Then we'll do our screws afterwards. So if you're wondering why we're not just going into normal screws, we don't have a flat wall to work with. So that's why. So ordinarily, if you have a normal flat wall and your house was built correctly, you wouldn't have to do this. But obviously ours wasn't. So it is what it is. All right, let's get to this. All right, cool. So we got that in. So now we'll go ahead and go on the other side and put this little guy in. All right, so we got this all leveled out now. So now we're going to go ahead and put the screw in. Now, if you have a flat wall, you can actually just put the screw in on the other side and that works just fine. But in our case, we don't have that. There we go. Do that. And that is right into a stud. That ain't going nowhere. I got all the way. Sweet. There we go. There we go. It's not going anywhere. So even with the shim in there. But yeah, so those are good. We'll be able to put a ton of stuff on these. I mean, I'm leaning my full weight on this thing and it's not moving at all. So overall, I would say this thing's a winner. Like, you should totally get this. If you're looking to do your own DIY shelves and you want to have a solution where it kind of is all-inclusive, this definitely gets the job done. It's solid, it's strong, it's gonna go on for years like this without any problems. As long as your studs in your house don't fail, these things basically are gonna stay on your wall. That's pretty awesome. So that's what I got for you on this one. I hope you guys really enjoyed the review. And yeah, we'll have a link down below if you're interested in doing it. They'll take you over to the Amazon page for these guys and definitely take care of them. In the meantime, Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like what we do here. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel, and hit that bell notification icon if you really want to be a true enthusiast of the channel. So, hey, whatever you're into, please do it. And most importantly, stay safe in the shop and have a great day.